I cannot believe, guys, people, viewers, friends, family. Whoa! I cannot believe I am currently living in a time where we are casually just saying the words Kingdom Hearts 4. Like, realistically, I knew this was gonna happen eventually, but not so soon. However, then again, thinking back, realistically it does make sense. I mean, because long before we had the whole Kingdom Hearts 3 wait, we actually did have a lot of these Kingdom Hearts games coming out in a rather timely fashion. The leap from Kingdom Hearts 1 to Kingdom Hearts 2 was not that long. I mean, Kingdom Hearts 1 came out in 2002, and then a follow-up, Chain of Memories for the Game Boy Advance, came out like a little over a year later, and then only like a couple years later, immediately we got into Kingdom Hearts 2, which was ready to go, and it was bigger and badder and became probably, arguably, the most fan-favorite game in the franchise to this date. Debatedly. There's a lot of them. There might be some Recoded fans out there that, hey, more power to you. I love Recoded too. I love all of them. I mean, for God's sakes, I got every single game in the collection multiple times over, so you can't tell me that there aren't fans of these games, even the more weird ones, but I'm getting off topic. The hype surrounding this with me is all over the place. I cannot begin to even express my opinion. Like, that's why it took me so long to create a video like this, because even now as I'm saying this to you, I'm rambling, but I'm not even getting everything out there, because it's just...
Are you done rambling?
How do you unpack all this? How do you see everything that happened that night on the 8th, which I gotta tell you guys, that was a very stressful night for me. The 8th of that Kingdom Hearts event, that 20th anniversary event, oh my god. Look at my Twitter feed, guys. I was going crazy the entire night, and I was stuck at my job working that night, but I was still on Twitter because I just couldn't... I was eagerly waiting, the same as the rest of you guys were, for news on anything that was happening. So yeah, first of all, the event, it looked really cool. It's a damn shame that the borders are still closed, or at least as far as I know, so that trips couldn't even be taken to Japan. I don't even know if this trip was invite only, or if it was open to the public, or if you had to pay a certain amount of money to even go to the event. But if that were the case, it feels like it was unfortunately restricted to the Japanese only, or the people that were able to make it there. And what made the event even worse for me, at least to a degree, was they did not live stream the event, which I felt could have been appropriate for them to do. However, Nomura, the man in charge, the main man himself, the man, the myth, the legend, he did go on record and explain a little bit as to why he did not live stream it and chose to do so. And reasonably, it just comes down to he was worried that ultimately he could say something that was a little too spoilery, and figure, well, it's out there now, so there's no taking that back. So it was probably a wiser choice for him not to do it. I understand it, but it was still kind of frustrating because that means we had to wait another 3 hours just to find out what the hell was going on. And like Willy Wonka said,
the suspense is terrible. He's gonna go this time. I hope it'll last.
Exactly, right? so I was going absolutely bonkers that night. And I know on this channel, if you guys have been regular viewers for a long time, you may not have seen a whole lot of Kingdom Hearts content here and there, but look behind me. I have a strong passion for the Kingdom Hearts franchise. I have been, I mean, not even, to me, it's not even arguably, I have been the biggest fan of this series that I know since its inception back in 2002, back when we started seeing the first teasers and ideas for this game.
You never know who you'll run into next. Kingdom Hearts, PlayStation 2, rated E for everyone.
Everybody thought it was a big joke. Who didn't? It was such a ludicrous idea, but the fact is, it worked. When you put enough heart and passion into a franchise like this, into your creation, you can make anything work. Stupid as idea as it is, it's all stupid, but I love it. Every bit of it. Going back to the 20th anniversary event, we got to see a lot of cool stuff. They had a lot of new merch there, which I'm not sure how it's going to become available to the public, or how it, or when it, or if, or because sometimes they show off stuff which on the ground floor, which is not necessarily something that they're going to allow to be sold. Like, they got nice statues, they've got nice china, they've got nice things here and there. I'm sure that they will be, some of these things most definitely will be released in due time. There might be something on it already, because Lord knows we've been getting Kingdom Hearts news left and right from different insider sources. And those are actually some of the things that I want to go into here that I did take notes on. So the first thing that we really got to see from the event itself, the major thing, is that we are getting the conclusion to the entirety of the Kingdom Hearts Union Cross cell phone bullcrap. I'm just going to be upfront, guys. I hate cell phone games. I hate gacha games. I hate the microtransactions. I hate everything about it. It's tedious, mind-numbing, and frankly not that fun. However, I do know that over in Japan, things are very culturally different over there, where they're always on the go. So, mobile gaming, far more successful, far more impactful over there than it is over here. So I understand why they do it, but I'm not a fan of it. It's the same thing with the gambling thing, with the gacha elements and the pachinkos and stuff. It's something that they like to do. It's just, I just hate that it's being crowbarred into a franchise that I love, and we're just kind of forced to deal with it. Little did I know when Kingdom Hearts Union was doing its thing over here that they had that whole competition thing that would have allowed you to get your name inside of Kingdom Hearts 3. Had I had known that that was a thing, I probably would have sunk some money into it just to make sure that that happened, but mea culpa, I didn't know what was going on because it was very difficult for me to even get into the phone game. I know how it works, I know the story, and I know the lore, but god damn, it's a trek. So yes, Kingdom Hearts Union is done, and we are finally getting the ending chapter, which I'm pretty sure it's not going to be playable over here because the game has long since shut down. However, you can still download Kingdom Hearts Union on your phones and Androids, but it has pretty much been turned into a glorified theater mode where you can watch all of the cutscenes and further updates for the other cutscenes, including the final arc with the Dark Road, is going to be downloaded through there, so we will be able to get to watch that and see how it concludes and learn a little bit more about Xehanort's history and what led him to become the dark mastermind that he is or was, all the way up until the conclusion of Kingdom Hearts 3. And probably even after, if you've played Melody of Memory. Who knows? We might not be done with Xehanort yet, despite the whole Xehanort arc having ended. Who knows? So, I kind of expected that they were going to do something with the phone game, or at least conclude it, because we really didn't have that yet. So it was nice to see, but I am glad that that was not the main thing that we had to look forward to. The next thing they had to show was something that I found interesting, yet for me it was once again still controversial, and I remember when I saw it, I actually screamed at the screen. I was screaming at the screen, no, get these games off the fucking phone! Because once again, we got a new game announcement, Kingdom Hearts The Missing Link. Excited as I was for it, I still was like a little apprehensive because it's like, god damn it, it's another phone game! Why? Why can't this be on the Nintendo Switch? Why does this have to be for the Android or smartphones? Why can't it be an exclusive game for the Switch? If you've seen it, it doesn't look graphically intensive, and I thought that was actually my first clue when I saw the landscape or portrait view, whatever it is on your freaking phones. I was looking at that and I was like, oh no, don't tell me this is what I think it is. And as soon as I saw the ending of that trailer, it's like, god damn it. And it tricked me because honestly, I did think that, oh wow, are we finally going to get a spin-off game that's exclusive for the Switch? That to me makes sense. That would have been a brilliant idea. That would have given Switch users finally something to look forward to. Theorizing is fun and all because I feel like there's always a chance that it could happen, because I remember way back when Birth by Sleep was still making its rounds, we had gotten a very old trailer teaser for 0.2 Birth by Sleep, which at the time we thought was going to be a sequel story featuring Aqua, and if you've seen it, you know it looked like the graphics from the original Birth by Sleep game. It looked like the classic stuff, and then the trailer just kind of disappeared, and for years we didn't see anything about it. We just kind of thought it quietly got canceled until years later it got brought up again, and surprise, it's now a prelude to Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm sure that I don't know if that's how it was always supposed to be, but it certainly didn't feel like that when we saw it originally years prior. So I feel like if beta testing doesn't go too well, who really knows? Like maybe it could push them in a different direction with it, because all of these stories are very important, and I'm sure that with the important stories and all of these spin-offs, they want to make sure that they're on a platform that people are going to play. Same thing happened with Coded. Kingdom Hearts Missing Link, it takes place in an unspecified time after Kingdom Hearts Union, still in that weird time frame where we don't know a whole lot of history what happened between there, but it takes place in Scala ad Caelum, which we were introduced in Kingdom Hearts 3, and it's another one of those you can create your own character and go on adventures with other Keyblade wielders, and the story is supposed to answer all of the missing questions and mysteries that pertain to the past. I don't necessarily know for certain if it will. It claims, or all of the information that we've been receiving claims that it will, but we'll see if that comes to fruition, and how tedious will the gameplay be for us to get snippets of information, because that was actually my biggest problem with Kingdom Hearts Union, is you have to do so much grinding and tedious gameplay just to get a snippet of information, and it just kind of wasn't worth it, to the point where it's like, you know what, I'm sure somebody's made a YouTube compilation, and they have many times over, because it got old real fast. As diehard as a fan of I am, and I did ultimately play Union up until the finish, or at least as far as we could, but it was a grind. It's fun, had very serious limitations, and that is my biggest concern with Kingdom Hearts Missing Link coming up, is are we going to have that same problem where we're going to have an unsurmountable, tedious amount of gameplay with little stories sprinkled in here and there? Now, granted, gameplay-wise, it does look really good. It actually reminds me of another phone game that we had not too long ago, but is still running strong over in Japan, is Tales of the Rays. And depending on how hard it is and such, they may entice you to spend real money to make your character that much more powerful. Paying to win, as it were. And that, I hate that shit. Get it off the phone. Put it on a console. So that's my biggest concern with Missing Link. We don't know too much about the story yet, naturally. All we know is it takes place in an unspecified amount of time after the events of Union, but we'll see. Not too much to talk about there. But then after Missing Link came out, then we got the biggest reveal of the night, which suddenly silenced everybody in awe. I cried, I screamed, all I could do was rewatch the trailer over and over again and just think, wow, we're really here. This is really happening. Kingdom Hearts 4. It's real. It's really real. It felt very surreal. We could not stop tweeting about it that night. What do we know? We know a lot. Knowing a lot in Kingdom Hearts doesn't mean a lot. One thing I've learned over the years, the 20 years of playing Kingdom Hearts, it's unpredictable. And I love that about it. Trying to predict Kingdom Hearts has never proven to be fruitful, because it always introduces new things that we didn't see coming. And I am always on the edge of my seat, excited to see what happens next. I am, of course, one of those that understands the story perfectly. I don't believe it's convoluted at all if you play every game in order of release and you get the information as it's coming at you as it should be. It's really not that hard to understand. Frankly, I think this is the perfect time for any new player who wants to get invested in the series. It is now very easy for you to do so. And I remember back in the time before the collections came out, if people wanted to get into Kingdom Hearts, it was a trialsome endeavor, because you did have to deal with some archaic stuff in the old versions of the games that we had that were a little bit hard to deal with before we got the HD collections that included the Final Mix enhanced versions with quality of life improvements, such as being able to skip certain cutscenes in the first game, whereas you couldn't do that. Probably the biggest quality of life enhancement, all of the games available on one system. Alright, so what did we see? I'm still amazed at everything, and there's still so much to say and talk about. So we got to see Sora waking up in a brand new world, which, if you're familiar at all with Kingdom Hearts 3, we know is Quadratum. And one thing about Sora is he looks very different. He looks very crisp and very Final Fantasy looking. And I know a lot of people were immediately thinking like, oh wow, this is Sora's new look. And for a hot minute there, I thought it could be, because I wasn't sure what direction Nomura was going in for this new adventure. However, I'm pretty sure that Sora's new look is only because of the world that he's in. In fact, I think Nomura himself has confirmed this in one of his Q&As at the 20th anniversary event. Don't quote me on that. I think it happens to be true though, because the ending of the entire trailer features Donald and Goofy, just to ensure that not only is Disney still going to be a major player into this story, but the visual style that we've come to know has not gone away. So Sora will most likely still appear as we knew him one game ago, but for this particular world of Quadratum, he is going to look a little bit more, well, polished like a Final Fantasy character, just because that's the way the world works, because it's far more realistic. So yeah, I do know that people were actually pretty torn on this. Some people surprisingly ended up not liking Sora's new look, and other people thought it looked really, really good, and that's the way he should look moving forward. It's well known in the Kingdom Hearts universe that characters do change their physical appearance, usually to something that fits the mold of the world, so that they don't stick out, usually. Gameplay-wise, we probably can't take too much away from the gameplay the little snippets of gameplay that we saw in Kingdom Hearts 4, mostly because, just like when Kingdom Hearts 3 was first announced, we got to see more of a concept of how the gameplay would look and feel. It's very much probably the same thing here with Kingdom Hearts 4. What we're seeing is a little bit of a representation of what we can kind of expect gameplay to somewhat feel like, but this is probably not a scenario or the accurate way the gameplay is going to look. I'm sure it's more of just like a tech demo, really. That being said, I think it's a really grand idea to finally give Sora some special and unique abilities, such as we saw with the Lingering Will boss fight in Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix Plus, where the Keyblade can now do some magical stuff all of its own, where it can metamorph into unique attacks and chain whips and things so that Sora can use them to grapple and move to different environments. It was a really good call for him to do that, because Sora should be getting up there in power now to the point where, yeah, he should be able to step up and measure up to all of the other characters. One of the bigger reveals that happened that added even more, like, I'm trying to calm myself down, like, because I'm just, the excitement, it's really hard to contain here. It did not take long for this reveal to happen, but guys, holy shit, I think we're not only in Kingdom Hearts 4 are we gonna once again get to use the weapon of all weapons, but so for those of you unaware, which is probably none of you if you've been watching the video this long, it didn't take somebody long, but at the beginning of the trailer for Kingdom Hearts 4, there's a opening that has a forest going on, and it, honestly, looking at it at face value, it could have been any forest. Like, the graphics are so crisp and so good now. It could have been anything. It could have been an enchanted forest from one of the Disney worlds. It could have been a forest from a nameless Final Fantasy world that we have no knowledge about yet. But in the last, like, few frames before the forest world cuts to black and we start getting to all of the cool Quadratum stuff with Sora, we got to see a little piece of machinery up in the corner. Honestly, it kind of went by me. Even as I was rewatching the footage, I didn't think much of it. But I guess somebody who had sharper eyes than I did saw that piece of machinery and was able to compare it to another piece of machinery. And guys, there's no question about it. We were looking at the foot of an AT-ST walker from Star Wars. And if this is an AT-ST walker in a forest, we are probably looking at Return of the Jedi's Moon of Endor. Jaws were dropped once again. Screaming was at an all-time high. I was beginning to lose my voice, but I was just thinking, oh my god, is it finally happening? Are we gonna start bringing in the other franchises? Are we gonna see Star Wars and Marvel come into the scene? Now, I know a lot of people have mixed opinions on whether or not they wanted to see these other franchises coming into it. Personally, I have seen and known people that were like, no, they should not bring Marvel into this. No, they should not bring Star Wars into this. It should be strictly Disney and the Final Fantasy stuff. But at the same time, I'm not like, guys, you gotta remember how this all started. This is literally how people thought back in 2002 when this was first announced. Disney and Final Fantasy bringing together? What? No, this is stupid. And it worked. So when I see Star Wars or Marvel on the table as potential worlds, I'm not going to be the guy that's like, no, they should never do that. I'm the guy that's like, why not? Bring it all in. If they can, in fact, Star Wars, to me, makes the most sense. If you think about it, there's a lot of similarities between Kingdom Hearts and Star Wars. You got even the stories are kind of similar. You've got the darkness in people's hearts. You've got the dark side of the Force, the light side, and how one overtaking the other may not inherently be a great thing. They must be a balance in the Force and in people's hearts. And you can imagine the Emperor Palpatine wanting to control the Heartless and the darkness and make Kingdom Hearts his own. How funny would that be? And Sora helping Luke Skywalker trying to turn his father back to the light side. Can you think about that? I was even thinking, can you imagine Luke Skywalker having a conversation with Sora talking about his father and how he still believes there's good in him? And Sora could talk about, you know what, Luke? You should not give up on your father. You should try to convince him to join the light side, because guess what? I have a best friend who was once evil, just like Darth Vader, and I didn't give up on him, and he turned back to the light and is now one of our greatest warriors. Sora inspiring Luke Skywalker to keep, oh my god. See how well it lends itself? The writing, it writes itself. It really writes itself. Adding Star Wars to Kingdom Hearts really does work, and frankly, I'm surprised they didn't do it sooner. So yes, I'm very much excited to see how Star Wars plays out, and as far as we know, word has been said that Nomura's favorite Star Wars film was Return of the Jedi. If that's true, then my faith that the Star Wars world that we're going to be getting for Kingdom Hearts 4 is going to be Return of the Jedi. Now, I'm talking like Return of the Jedi and Star Wars is a confirmed thing, which Nomura hasn't outright said, but come on, if you've seen that footage, it's pretty much irrefutable. There's no denying it. It's not fudged, it's not made up. You look at it, you can't deny it. So, Star Wars, I think, is very much a sure thing. Only time will tell if Marvel will become a part of it as well. And if they do, oh boy, that's going to be a lot of fun. Is it going to be a Guardians of the Galaxy thing, or are we going to get an Iron Man, Tony Stark situation? And are we going to get a lightsaber Keyblade? Is that going to finally be a thing? Holy hell. Oh, man. So what else? Alright, so one of the things that was mentioned in Cage's Insider on the interviews and such with Nomura is they talked about how world development is currently in process. So I don't know if this means that they've already figured out what worlds they want to incorporate in Kingdom Hearts 4, or if they are having a back and forth with Disney talking about the selection of worlds that they should have. Given how it doesn't necessarily take too long to make these games, it's reasonable to assume they probably already have an idea for the worlds that they want to incorporate, which either could be familiar worlds that we already know, Disney worlds from way back when that we have not even visited yet, or it could be worlds that are relative to an upcoming Disney movie that could be coming out in the near future. And it's possible. One interesting thing that I would have liked to have seen is, as far as world selection goes, I do have my preference. I would like to see a Great Mouse Detective world. I would like to see a Zootopia world. I would obviously like to see a Robin Hood world. But if these worlds are not going to happen, there is another interesting way they can get around it, whereas if they don't want to make an entire world dedicated to these stories and these characters, the fun way they can get around it is by bringing these characters into other worlds, such as like Twilight Town with Little Chef, Remy, or you can make them part of another world, like Radiant Garden, and just give them a story arc there, or you can just make the characters a summon and make them part of your arsenal without necessarily dedicating a story or a world to them, but they're still there, represented in some way, shape, or form. That's one way they could get around it, and for me, that would be satisfying enough just to know that they cared enough to put them in it. As for otherworld selection, I don't know what really to look forward to here, because I don't know how serious they want to take the storyline. I know they're starting off this new arc strong. We have the whole afterworld thing going on with Quadratum sort of being like a limbo or a purgatory for characters that may have been murdered, such as with the Strelitzia character, which for those of you who don't know, that girl with pigtails that we saw Sora hanging out with briefly in the beginning of the trailer for Kingdom Hearts 4 is a character that has been well established in the Kingdom Hearts lore if you've played the phone game, and she was a character that is related to a certain other character, but was also murdered, and we have seen her again, so she does have a bit of history behind her if you care to look for it. That being said, I have no idea what the tone or direction is for this new Kingdom Hearts game. One thing's for sure, they have sort of made it a little less cutesy, I take it, and the reason why I say that is because of the rebranding of the logo. If you've seen the logo for Kingdom Hearts, you know what it looks like. It's very iconic, but with the new art, they decided to change the logo to something a little bit more streamlined, and I guess it's a little, for me, I thought it was a little basic, but I don't know, it's not entirely different, but it's different enough for me to kind of question, like, alright, what are we doing here? Where are we going? So, yeah, I'm not quite sure of the tone yet. I'm going to be all for it one way or another, but because of the tone, it might have a play in what kind of worlds we're going to see, if you know what I mean. We might be getting more live-action worlds compared to the more toony worlds that we're all familiar with. At this point, it's really up in the air. Who knows what we're going to be getting. I'll leave you guys to decide that. Why don't you guys let me know in the comments what worlds you would like to see and what worlds you think could potentially be in Kingdom Hearts 4. I am eager to know. So yeah, guys, I am going crazy here with thoughts on what to expect from here. One other thing I wanted to mention is that the ending of the trailer did show Donald and Goofy, which was a really good thing to add on for me personally, because one of my biggest fears was, and a lot of people were speculating this at the time, was that Square Enix was going to be stepping away from Disney with the whole Kingdom Hearts situation moving forward, is that they wanted to make, for some reason they wanted to, I think, again, this was all rumor, they wanted to separate from Disney altogether, and that kind of scared me, because it's like, no, I don't think that's a good idea, and hopefully they would have learned that when they were doing Kingdom Hearts 3 by removing the Final Fantasy characters. It's like, you don't do that. This whole series started because of Disney and Final Fantasy coming together, and when you remove them and you start taking them away, you're kind of, in a no pun intended, removing the heart of the series and what made it so fun to begin with. Granted, all of these characters, we've grown to love them, we know them so well, and we love seeing them go forward, but we do want to see them go on these adventures with the things that we know from our youth. So, getting rid of the Disney thing I don't think is a smart move, and I'd rather they do not do that. Keep going with the Disney stuff, keep bringing other Final Fantasy characters into it, or other Square properties. I mean, shoot, Square owns a lot of properties, and if you remember in Kingdom Hearts 3, there was a lot of love for Square's Einhander game, which I didn't think we'd ever see that again. So, hell, if Einhander can get some love, let's bring in some other Square franchises. Let's bring in Lara Croft. Hell, they own Tomb Raider. Why don't we get to see a Lara Croft representation in Kingdom Hearts 4? Why not? Sky's the limit. The only thing I know for sure is with Kingdom Hearts, nothing is off the table. And that's what I love about it. It's full of surprises, and after 20 years, and for Kingdom Hearts being a big part of my life, I'm glad that this ride is going strong, and I am never getting off of it. Keep it going as long as it can, and you know what? I'm all in. That's all I could say. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I could make more videos talking about things about Kingdom Hearts 4 or Missing Link, or just more stuff in general. However, I do also want to let you guys know that because this is the 20th anniversary of Kingdom Hearts, I am going to start doing my own retrospective series on the franchise as a whole. Not necessarily talking about its history, because I feel like everybody kind of knows that already. There's 100 videos talking about that. And while I may briefly mention some things, I mostly want to talk about what Kingdom Hearts means to me as I go through each of these individual games. I mean, because if you're watching these videos, that's probably why you're here in the first place, because you want to hear what we think. So, I hope you guys look forward to that. I am definitely looking forward to it, but it's going to be quite a task, and it's going to be quite a project for me to work on. And unfortunately, these days, because I'm now super busy with other lines of employment and like different projects all over the place, my free time has gotten so bare minimum that I don't have much time to do things that I want to do. I'm always working. So, look forward to that, guys. I really hope you guys check out the Kingdom Hearts retrospective when we do it. Lord knows I'm going to be putting a lot of my own heart into it. Pun intended on that one, fully. And yeah, that should be a lot of fun. Meanwhile, the 20th anniversary of Kingdom Hearts is amazing. It's everything we could have wanted. I have made a ton of Kingdom Hearts purchases in the past week. I've spent hundreds of dollars on more Kingdom Hearts merch, like I don't have enough already. But it's a franchise that I love. It's probably my all-time favorite franchise, and I'm... when you love something, no regrets, right? You go all in. So, with that being said, guys, Kingdom Hearts 4 is on its way. I don't think we'll have to wait too long for more information. The game might be out in a couple years. I do not think we're going to have to wait 10 plus years like some people out there are joking around like, oh, I can't wait to play this in 2040. It's like, no, that ain't going to happen, guys. If you look into the history of this series, and even though Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy 15 might be the outliers of what has happened in the past, with Nomura's involvement in them and maybe announcing things a little too early along with engine changes, that does not reflect how the rest of the series has gone. So, let me know in the comments below, guys. What did you think of the trailer? Are you excited as I am for Kingdom Hearts 4? If there are new things that I can think about to talk about, I can probably make another video or a live stream talking about these things with you guys personally. Meanwhile, I am going to decompress, continue to think about this franchise even more, figure out where to go with our retrospective, work on other videos on the channel, because Lord knows there are some things that are backlogged that really need to come out. And we will see you next time. Please let me know your thoughts. I can't wait to converse with you about it, because Lord knows I could talk about this franchise forever. See you soon.